Hey everyone, how's it going today and welcome to another video. So in today's video, as the title suggests, it's going to be a little bit of a reflection where I really just want to talk about some of the best financial decisions that I was able to really make during my lifetime, so I can hopefully pass some of that experience onto you guys so you guys can do somewhat similar. And hopefully this is going to help you guys gain some insight into some of the best decisions that you can also potentially make in your particular lifetime. Now, not every decision that I have made has been positive when it comes to financially, but of course today's video is going to be talking about the financial positive decisions that I've really been able to make. For some perspective is that I graduated college in the mid-2010s. I'm sort of at the age right now where let's just say that many people my age are either getting married or have already gotten married or having children or have already had children or preparing to have children, one or the other. And I am sadly still single, but not totally sadly, because there is actually one financial benefit that I did have, or that I was able to experience because of my relationship situation, which is something we're going to talk about in a little bit. So definitely stay tuned for that because I think it's going to be really, really helpful. So with that being said, let's just get this video started. But as always, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. If you guys are new here, welcome. So happy to have you guys. And with that being said, let's get this video started. So to start with is that the first best financial decision I think I was really able to make in my lifetime actually goes way back, more than, we'll just say 10 years ago, back into my high school days, which is really about choosing the cheapest college. Now definitely hear me out on this one, because at the time period when I was deciding for colleges, I wasn't really sure what kind of college I wanted to go to. I knew I wanted to study engineering of some kind, but I just wasn't sure where exactly I wanted to do so. In the end, what ended up happening is I ended up going to a school called Villanova University. If you guys know what that school is, because I know it's a little bit of a smaller school, feel free to comment that down below. We are the very, very famous basketball school, so we have a very huge basketball program, and that's what we're really known for. We have other things that we're known for, but that's probably one of the biggest things that we're known for, our sports and everything in that world. So comment down if you maybe recognize that school. But the idea is that at that time period, I wasn't really sure what university I wanted to go to. And I was comparing many options that were on the table, which is really grateful that I had those options. I think I had about 4 or 5 options. So not an extensive list. I was not someone that was, a brilliant student that got into every university. I didn't even get into I didn't even apply to any Ivy League because it was totally out of range or anything like that. But I was able to get into some pretty reasonably great universities. And at that time period, what really ended up happening is that probably because I couldn't end up deciding, one of the biggest deciding factors that ended up playing a role into my decision was deciding to pick whichever one was actually the cheapest option. And Villanova was a school at that time period that gave me the most scholarship and financial aid that I had available. So as a result, it actually, although Villanova is typically known to be a very, very, very expensive private university, because of scholarships and financial aid, it actually ended up becoming cheaper to go there than even my local state school. And as a result, that's how I ended up attending there. It was an incredible 4 years. But the biggest of all, and the biggest takeaway and bottom line is that by deciding to go to that university, it not only was it just such a great time, but it also saved me, let's just say thousands and thousands and thousands. I think tuition at that time period was about $45,000, including room and board, $50,000. I paid just significantly less. We'll just say that it was actually cheaper to put me in college than to get me out of college, considering how expensive it would have been to live in New York City, which is where I'm from, if I had chosen not to go to college. It was actually cheaper to put me in college. So as a result, because I went there, in total, it must have saved me, let's just say something, well over $100,000. I was able to really gratefully graduate debt-free, and that was one of the biggest reasons why I was able to, when I graduated, take so many risks to do things like change my career. Start a business, pursue other side hustles, business ventures, and all sorts of different things. I do have a video, even though I ended up leaving engineering, there's a video I made that explains why I left the engineering world. I'll put that at the very end screen so you guys can watch that, after you guys watch this video. So if that's something of interest, definitely continue watching through. But that's really the first thing. Now, the second thing I think that was really a really smart financial decision that I was able to make at that time was really about starting to buy and experiment with the stock market in the 2010s, around the time that I graduated college. So at the time period, what really ended up happening is that because I was able to save a reasonable amount of money, because I went to school on scholarship and financial aid, and again, we're talking about over $100,000 saved at that. Not $100,000 saved, but $100,000 that I don't have to go into debt with, because I didn't have $100,000 at that time period. I wish, I had a lot less than $100,000, but I had $100,000 I did not have to go into debt for, and I think that's the big thing. But because of that reason, I was able to take that money and try to figure out ways I could invest it. So what did I do exactly? Is I turned to the stock market and started investing in stocks. Now, right now, at the time that I'm making this video in 2023, and given the fact that we've made so many videos talking about how rough the economy has been doing already, more videos I'll probably put at the end screen. The idea is that almost every single person that started investing in the stock market that I know of in the 2020s, so essentially in the last 3 years, is sinking really, really deep in money. There are very, very few people I know that are actually making money in the positive green area that started investing in the 2020s. On the other hand, a lot of people I know that started investing in the 2010s are still pretty well up, or maybe they're not as up, but they're at least not losing money as compared to a lot of people that started investing later on, because 2010s was a very golden bull market era to start investing in the stock market. So there were stocks that have basically gone up 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 folds even to this day. For example, Nvidia has gone up 9 folds, I think, since the time that I started investing at that time period. But for people that came in today, that is not necessarily true. So one of the second best decisions was to start experimenting in the stock market early, and so that's basically one of the biggest ideas. So the takeaway is that if you're watching this video, try to start as early as you can, because timing the market is relatively important, but at the end of the day, it's just important to come in early. And in most situations, right now is a rough market, but in most situations, that's really the takeaway. Now, the third biggest financial decision that I think I was able to really make during my time period was really to stay single during my relationship era. Now, this one you definitely have to hear me out, because there's two sides to this story. The first side of this story is that at the time period I had actually gone through a heartbreak this happened about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So because of that reason, ever since that ended up happening, I decided that I wanted to avoid the relationship world. Now, I did admittedly avoid it because of fear in general, but there was also a financial component that really factored it in. The first side to the story about me staying single is that it was able to help me save a lot of money. I think that just goes without saying. It's not to say that dating is expensive, because at this time period, I think it's very fair to say is that there's a lot of ways that you can date cheaply. But at the time period when I was in my early 20s, still figuring life out, that didn't occur to me. At the time period, I was always under the impression that in order to date well, you had to be prepared to spend a lot of money. That's no longer true the case today, but at the time period, that's what it seemed like was going to be true. But the bottom line is especially from a guy's perspective, is that by staying single, I didn't have to pay for any dates because I wasn't dating around. So the first side is that it saved me a lot of money. The second side of the benefit to staying single is that because I was able to stay single, it also gave me a lot of time to work on a lot of other areas of life. And that includes building strong relationships that were non-romantic. So for example, strong friendships, a strong network, a stronger career network. So a networking career and a network in just general social life in general. It is a very, and it's not necessarily a well-known fact, but it's just something that comes from personal experience, and you guys can feel free to comment if you guys relate to this or not. But there's a lot of people I know that are actually really good at doing this. But then there's most people, from my personal observation, from my personal experience, that really don't know how to balance between a relationship and a friendship. So the second that they end up in a relationship, you basically almost never see them again. they disappear. They're always with their significant other, which is cool. But as a result, they start to neglect their friendships. They start to neglect their network. They start to neglect other areas of life. And so by staying single, I was able to take that time to focus on a lot of other areas of life, and that included building friendships with other people and building my network in terms of my career so that I was able to better grow it and expand and then make more money later on. And I think that's probably the third thing to really be able to share out there. Now, the fourth thing is a really straightforward one, but at the time period I was living outside, but I decided that because I really wanted to save money and take all of these risks at that time period, it was important to try to save as much money. So what happened is, being from New York City, which is the capital of the world, I decided to move back home. And so by moving back home, we're talking about saving about $2,000 to $3,000 every single month that we no longer have to pay in rent. And so every single year, this is about 24 to 36K. So $24,000 to $36,000 that we no longer have to spend by moving back at home. So this is just a very straightforward one to share. And then probably the final best financial decision that I made is not necessarily because this was a decision that made me a lot of money, but it's more because this was a decision that grew me as a person, I think, in general, and that is to start a business. At the time period, because I had lost my job way back, this was like maybe about 5 years ago, I decided to basically run off to start my own company because I was struggling to get hired. So I said, maybe if I wasn't going to be able to get hired, I should run off and just start my own venture at that time period. And that was how a lot of the first business projects started. Now, many of the business projects that I really pursued in the beginning actually found a reasonable amount of success, but they were all often very, very short-lived, including even this YouTube channel, for example, that had its own error where at the time period when I started this YouTube channel, it was really meant to bring people unemployed during the pandemic. Huge thanks if you guys have been here since then. Maybe feel free to leave a comment if you guys have been here. If you guys are new here, also welcome aboard. Maybe consider subscribing if that's something of interest, if you're interested in videos like this, because we are going through a recovery phase right now. But at the peak of this YouTube channel at that time period, this was really because so many people, millions and millions of people, had lost their jobs and found themselves unemployed. So I created this community to bring everyone together. And that was really how this became what it is today. Now, obviously, because of the trends and people started to go back to work, it was expected that sadly the trend ended up dying out, and that's where we're at today. But the idea really is, I think at the very, very end of the day, because starting a business and entrepreneurship was just one of those things I was just very fascinated about at that time period, it was just, although a lot of it was very short-lived, it was a really, really great learning experience. There were so many things that were learned during that time because by pursuing a business venture, it gave me a lot of freedom. I was also able to spend a lot of time pursuing other avenues of life, such as like building my social life, going out more, getting more fresh air, working on my health, traveling, starting my business, making money in other areas, growing in other areas as well, learning new skills, getting back to my hobbies. I started a new career. All that stuff was really made possible because of that particular reason. And I think that's hopefully going to be the final best decision that I really made in my life. I mean, there's so many. There's so many things I can possibly share. Maybe comment down below if us part 2 videos of interest, maybe if that is something. But the idea really is that these are just really the 5 biggest things that I hope to share in today's video to pass on that I was able to really make in my lifetime. So a big recap is going to the cheapest college, buying stocks in the mid-2010s, staying single, moving back home, and starting a business. So with that being said, that's pretty much what I really just wanted to share in today's video. So if you guys found that relatively insightful, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end. Feel free to leave a comment, like, subscribe, hit the bell. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.